Life of Laetitia. Chapter 8. It was a very busy week. Miss Velma took me to the stores to get my books and school clothes. We bought yellow shirts and the yellow and brown plaid material for the skirts. Then we went from one shoe store to the next until we found good shoes at the right price. When we had got everything I needed, Miss Velma counted up the money she had left, shut the purse, and winked at me. She took me back to the cloth store and we went home with material for 3 new dresses. When I thanked her, she said, "Don't mind that, darling. Your Tanty Velma well glad she get a little girl to sew clothes for." I learned the way to the school and one day walked there and back by myself. Miss Velma made my skirts and I tried on the whole uniform. It looked so smart. I wished that Ma and Pappy and Uncle Leroy and everybody at home could see me right away. I spent hours with my new books. I began to read some of them. For this I needed peace and quiet and an orderly space around me. My belongings were still hidden under the bed and that was inconvenient. I couldn't play hide and seek with this little boy forever. I had to make myself comfortable. I started by glaring at him whenever he came into the room making noise. I opened my eyes wide like a madwoman, bared my teeth, and rose up off the bed as if to spring on him. He would look frightened and run out again. Once he brought his mother. Poor Miss Velma stood in the doorway with him, puzzled, for he couldn't explain why he had dragged her there, and why he was so frantic. I raised my head from my book and smiled sweetly. A little later he crept back. He lingered by the door and peeped in at me again and again. Finally, I called him in and he came, trying to put a swagger into his walk. I looked at him coldly. "Now you just keep yourself quiet in here," I hissed. He nodded. "And if you bring your mother for me again," I warned under our breath, for W. Veloma was about. "I'll pack rout." Now he opened his eyes wide and looked to run out again. I grabbed him. "You understand me?" He was too frightened to answer. "Answer me." "Yes," he said meekly. "Yes, who?" "Yes, Let yes, I don't know th. Was desperate. "Yes, Miss Laetitia Johnson," I instructed, fighting to keep a straight face. "Yes, Miss Laetitia." I couldn't help laughing. That was exactly what had happened when Kenw first started to talk and tried to say my name, and that was where I had got my home name, Lacer. "All right," I said, patting Michael on a DIY cheek. "Just say, Lacey, okay. Now," I made my face stern again, "make up that bed." "Make up the bed?" he asked in disbelief. He turned and tugged the sheet this way and that the bed remained like a sea under hurricane. He picked up his cover from the floor and stood with it in his hand, showing me a pitiful face. "How much years you have?" I asked. 9 years. 9 years and you can't make up your bed? You ain't shame?" He looked as if he was going to cry. I took one end of the cover and made him hold the other. Together we matched corner to corner and folded it. I made him shake and beat the pillow. I showed him how to pull the sheet taut and tuck it under the mattress. Then I instructed him to place the folded cover under the pillow. "All right," I said. "What you going to do now?" "Lie down," he answered in a doubtful little voice, almost as a question. I shook my head. "You too nasty to lie down on this bed. You have to go and bathe first." A shadow of protest passed over his face but quickly vanished. Then the corners of his mouth trembled downwards again and he left the room in haste. Whether he was going to the bathroom or to complain to his mother, I did not know. I settled back into the book I was reading. I had quite forgotten Michael when later a little figure draped in a towel tiptoed into the room. There was soap in his hair and I felt a little guilty. "You wash your hair, too? That is a nice boy. For that I'll read a story for you when you put on your clothes." "You like stories?" "Yes," he breathed, and his face was one big eager smile as he dug for clothes in the rat nest that was his drawer.